in first. Great to be here. We think Uncat is a great platform for accountants. And here at ScanSnap, we've got a lot of customers who have a lot of documents, and we have a lot of accountants on board. For those of you who are watching today's webcast live or on replay, if you haven't heard about ScanSnap, it's just the best scanning solution for you and your clients. But again, happy to be here today.
Yeah, fantastic to be here with you, Scott. And, I'm just coming off of a conference in Nashville called ZeroCon. And I see that Amanda is on. So Amanda and I had a joint booth there showing off both Uncat and the ScanSnap Receipt Edition scanner. And it was just a great show. So we got to meet a lot of folks, perhaps some of you that joined today for the webinar, but just showcasing how, as Scott will point out in a number of the slides coming up, how much time can be saved, right? I mean, that's both of our companies, while one is largely hardware and we're largely software focused, we're 100% oriented around sort of taking the pain out of routine tasks like categorizing transactions, like scanning receipts and other documents, and making it fast and easy to open up, as Scott said, all of that time to go to music festivals and wine festivals. So with that, thrilled that you all spent time joining us today, and we'll run through a few highlights and then, of course, show you the scanner and show you a little bit around Uncat. And as we go, if anyone has questions, definitely feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll absolutely answer those as we go along.
All right, that sounds great. Let's go.
Sounds good. Scott, are you sharing the slides?
I am. So
Okay.
everyone can see the slide deck.
Not yet.
Hopefully, I will do that again. And let me just go ahead and screen share again. And let me know. I
There we
think
are.
we are live.
We see the robot.
All right.
So yeah, kind of a quick overview on why we're here, what we're going to talk about, what you all signed up for. We're talking about manual document management, and especially as it relates to accountants and bookkeepers in your work with your clients. And so what we'll be showing you today, obviously from the ScanSnap perspective, is how to get those documents in when you have a physical document. They're best-in-class scanners, and Scott will talk about kind of the X factor, the secret sauce, and what they do, which is the quality of the image that you can scan in and get into your system, whether that's QuickBooks or Xero or some other general ledger platform, is next level. And then where Uncat plays is that one example is you can scan a receipt, and we were showing this at the conference. You can scan a receipt or other document in, but we'll talk about receipts for now, through ScanSnap, and then come into Uncat, and we can then match it to the correct transactions in QuickBooks, for example, or in Xero. And so it's a really nice full life cycle workflow. So that's kind of the seamless integration that we'll be showing here when we get into the demo. So yeah, here this is, and we'll circulate the deck and the recording to everybody on the webinar today. But certainly this is, something that goes to what we all basically know about manual process and why we're all interested in software and other systems that help us get more efficient, is that it's about time. And in our experience, at least, with a field that's growing as fast as accounting and bookkeeping, typically saving time means you're able to onboard more clients because your services are in demand. So in the past, or sometimes in other industries, it's, hey, open up more time for different activities, et cetera. In our experience working with a lot of firms, it means if you open up more time, you can then onboard all the clients that are knocking on the door trying to get in. You can serve them more effectively and efficiently, and importantly, help to grow your practice. Obviously, that's related to the financial costs of a lot of processes, and it kind of bogs down your team. So these solutions are designed to keep everybody focused on their highest and best use activities and serve your clients better. There's also some risk, obviously, in any manual process, because there could be some, as we would say in the retail industry, some breakage or some loss. Anytime it's manual, you're at risk of missing a step, being a little bit late with some transactions. We certainly see it with Uncat, so we're trying to keep the books up to date all the time.
These are great points, Brandon. And I think another point here, it's all about customer service.
Right.
When you've got a automated platform that can securely track all of that information, you're responding to customers faster, you're not losing their information, you're securing all of that sensitive information. Better customer service, happier customers, more referrals, more business.
There it is. I feel like that could be on a poster, like some equation leads to more business. Um, so the previous slide was kind of about the obvious things. These are some of the hidden costs that we sometimes don't see, and it's certainly something we heard a lot about when we launched Uncat, which is that if you're sending a spreadsheet, for example, of uncategorized transactions to a client, there's sort of the burden on the client, which is why they're reticent to reply or respond to some of those requests in the first place. But a lot of the loss in productivity is on the firm side, with employees that are then tasked with manually entering one by one the client responses into the general ledger. And this takes a tremendous amount of time for all of us that have done that. And of course, it's more susceptible to error and delays. And then you run into a compliance challenge. Typically, when we're at conferences, compliance challenges are phrased something in the way of, okay, so Uncat can help us make sure there's not $1 million in the Ask My Accountant account or the suspense account. And that's correct, right? Once you get a significant dollar amount in one of those, then getting to tax time or to audit time, it can cause a problem. So here we're trying to maximize client satisfaction, which means speed and accuracy. All right. Well, I already used the keyword. I'm like a slide ahead. Accuracy, cost savings, efficiency. I think we touched all these high points. Scott, do you have anything to add on this one?
Yeah, it's just when I looked at the Uncat platform earlier this year, I was just really impressed because you allow accounting firms to be more productive because their clients understand their role. And you've created the platform in a way that allows those clients to update their information. And I know you're going to go through the platform later, but just want to say that everything that your platform does delivers on these benefits. And ScanSnap's a perfect complement because we don't want scanning to drag people down. So having a reliable scanner with your platform is the perfect solution.
I appreciate it. That's the goal. We keep striving for it. So yeah, obviously Uncat, which for most people is pretty obvious, but Uncat is short for uncategorized. That's why we named the app that, aside from the fact that we wanted to use cats in all of our branding and use as many possible cat puns as we could. But our original tagline is really clean up uncategorized transactions with your clients. And each of those words is chosen with relative care because it's very difficult to automatically clean up uncategorized transactions. It's very difficult to know if a client spends $1,000 at Amazon, what that was for. Even if you have a receipt, you can see the line items, but you're still not exactly sure why they bought those items. What was the purpose? Where should we categorize those? And so Uncat helps to facilitate that very efficient and effective communication with your client so that you can make sure each transaction ends up in the right account in your general ledger. We've recently added, which is to say in 2024, the ability to match receipts to transactions. Scott and I were talking about that before we officially kicked off the webinar, which is, this really slick integration where you can seamlessly scan using a ScanSnap scanner, a receipt, for example, and then it can flow into Uncat because from their device, they can send it to a dedicated email address. And you get a unique email address through Uncat when you're a user. So you can send it into that email address. We will then parse the information in that receipt and match it to the corresponding transaction in QuickBooks. So it's a really quick, fast way to do it. The fastest way I know of. I mean, a lot of us are pretty used to like taking a picture with our phone of a receipt or like a gas pump or something if we're on the road, which is fine as it stands, and then send it in from there. But when you have papers, when you've got a bunch of paper receipts and you need to get them in, using the scanner is going to give you the highest quality and therefore the best extraction of data that we can do, because the lower the image quality, the more susceptible to error and compliance issues it is. And then we sync with QuickBooks Online. So that was our first integration. And then we added an integration with Xero and with QuickBooks Desktop. So for any of those three platforms, we sync data back and forth, help you solve the uncategorized challenges with your clients, as well as receipts and just general requests for information like W-9s and bank statements and stuff like that. We'll likely add some additional platforms in the future, including sort of general support for quote unquote like CSV clients. You can export and import from any platform. But for now, we're sort of supporting those three primary platforms.
All right. So just wanted to let everyone know that the integration takes about 5 minutes. It's not hard to integrate ScanSnap with Uncat. As Brandon mentioned, you get a specific email address to input those receipts, and we've got a great solution for that I'll talk about. But it really is a seamless integration. It's just the one click on the touch screen of ScanSnap will get those receipts into the system, and we'll show you that today. But it's all about getting that data captured accurately the first time. Once that receipt is captured, if there's a image quality issue down the line, that receipt may no longer be available. So ScanSnap's all about capturing that receipt in real time with all of those document details that enhances all of the artificial intelligence in the Uncat system. So let me talk really quick about the ability to get those documents in. And Brandon mentioned you've got a number of ways to get data into Uncat, whether it's web, email, text, all of those methods work. And with ScanSnap, you can get documents into a file folder, into a cloud storage service, or direct via email. So you've got multiple options as well. But again, our direct email integration that does not require a device at all is the best way to use it with Uncat. So for those of you on the call that haven't heard about ScanSnap, it simply is the most trusted scanner in business. And accounting is probably in our top two verticals. So we literally have hundreds of thousands or more of accountants who swear by ScanSnap. And Brandon, I thought we had a cool name, but when I saw Uncat with the herding cats logo, I loved it. You guys are pretty cool.
We try. I mean, it's really all about the cat. We're just here to facilitate.
That is awesome. So for scanning, it really is ScanSnap, and it's scanning in a snap. That's how we got our name. And with scanners, with ScanSnap, you don't have to be a scanning expert at all. This is a PDF appliance. It is a machine that has this sole mission to easily scan documents. ScanSnap is small. We've got 4 or 5 models, and the IX 1600 is featured here. It's about the size of a shoebox. So it's at arm's reach. And that means when you have clients come in or you're working at your desk, you're not having to get up to go scan documents. You are reaching over, and within seconds, those documents are in the system. And it's easy to use. We're just talking about pressing a button. I'll talk about our AI image processing in a moment, but it's easy to use. And this is an important point. If you're an accountant out there, you're going to want your customers, your clients, to have ScanSnap as well, so they can easily get content in the system, which makes it easier. You're not chasing them down. You're not herding cats. You're getting that data reliably in the system. You're not asking your clients to rescan a document because they messed up the settings or they used an inferior device. So ScanSnap is great for you. It's great for your clients as well. ScanSnap's reliable. We've got many customers who keep their ScanSnaps for over 10 years. A lot of times they just won't give them up. For all of you out there who have older ScanSnap units, I'd say give your unit to a client. Buy our newest models because they've got a lot of new functionality, including this wireless connectivity that makes the integration with Uncat so great. So check out the IX 1600. It's fast. Scans lots of paper types. It is lightning fast. Brandon, you've been with us at a lot of trade shows. What do you think about ScanSnap?
Well, I think it's great. And what's neat is that, and normally you don't get to see this about another company because you're usually separate booths, but we've frequently been in the same kind of pod of booths. And so what I think is the most important, because the best possible customer is one who's an evangelist for your product and refers it to others. And so I think repeatedly what I saw in Nashville and what I've seen previously when we've been together at conferences in Las Vegas is that customers frequently come by just to say, hey, we love the product. Hey, I have another client that I want to get another one for, put me down for that, or I want to enter the giveaway because I love the product so much. So, so many people are coming by, obviously with interest. Those are the new leads, but so many of the others are the existing customers just swinging by to say they use it every day. There was one in Nashville that said, I think they had like 40 or 50 of them across their firm, right? So it's part of their onboarding process, right? It's like, here's your license to QuickBooks, here's your ScanSnap stamp, here's a couple other accounts that you need, and now you're all set to be a great client of their firm. So I thought that was really cool.
Well said. It is the best compliment when your customers take over your trade show booth and start demonstrating the product to other people.
Right. Yeah. Keeps it simple.
And here's why. It really is scanning in the snap. We take all of that chaos on the left and we make it perfect. Whether it's simplex or duplex, we'll figure that out. The user doesn't have to. We'll delete those blank pages, auto orientation, auto size, auto color detection. We enhance the image processing to make that extraction perfect. So that's what scanning in a snap is all about. And hey, Uncat's a great platform. You can use it on any browser, right? So here, ScanSnap is the same way. Whether you're Windows or Mac, whether you're using iOS, Android, or even Chrome OS, we've got you covered. But today we're going to talk about direct to cloud. So basically there, we don't need a device at all. Once you configure ScanSnap, it's just ready to scan to your cloud locations. And that's that one button integration with Uncat that's so cool. You can see on the lower left, we've got 3 different models that have this functionality. So whether you want to use our flagship product, the iX1600, or one of our smaller units, we've got you covered there as well. And that's it. We've got a button, scans receipts fast and reliably right into Uncat. And then from there, as Brandon mentioned, we've got integrations with QuickBook and Xero to get all of that information into that final accounting system. So let's dive into a demo and see how it works. So first, we're going to see a quick video and we're going to see live ScanSnap in action. So here it is.
At some of them now. All right, I'm going to start with ScanSnap. ScanSnap is truly scanning in a snap. This is great for individuals. It's the great solution to simply convert.
And again, this is our iX1600.
Let's see ScanSnap in action. Documents are loaded. I'm just going to hit the scan button on the touchscreen display and we're off and running. On the screen, all of those documents are captured with their full document size. The user doesn't have to change settings because ScanSnap will do it for you with all of its intelligent image processing.
And that's it. That is the demo right there. So it's just about loading documents and pressing a button. For the user, they could be on the phone, they could be talking to a client. ScanSnap's got you covered. And here's what it looks like. So this is the control panel of our iX1600. We've got an Uncat button right here. Again, it took about 5 minutes to set up. This is not a deep integration in terms of setup, but it's a deep integration in how well it works. Documents in, press the Uncat button, and those receipts are in Uncat within about a minute or less. And that's it. So at this point, Brandon, why don't you take over and let's see the Uncat platform and kind of continue that document journey.
Yeah, I like what you said there, Scott. It's not a deep integration in the sense that it's hard. It's just a deep integration in the sense that it works. And like you said before the webinar, I mean, I think you had that set up in a matter of a couple minutes, if that.
Yeah.
So it's pretty seamless. I'll show you all around a few minutes of Uncat. Thankfully, our app is very simple to use also. Looks like, Scott, if you stop sharing, I'll be able to start sharing. There we go.
All right.
I didn't know that Zoom was gonna say that. But I'll show you all around Uncat a little bit. Many of you may have been here before. Some of you may be existing customers, in which case, fantastic. Like Scott already said, you all are the best. So I'm at uncat.com. If you're interested in what I'm about to show you, just click start a free trial. It'll take you to a page, which, as Scott would say, is deep, but not hard. So you can put in your firm name, put in your email, and start a trial. It'll take you about 15 seconds on the outside. And then what it's going to do is prompt you to sign in to your accounting platform, whether that's QuickBooks Online or Desktop or Xero, and then add your first client. And when you do that, it'll walk you through a series of settings. So you're basically choosing which accounts you want to sync into Uncat. So in this QuickBooks Online example, as soon as I add these accounts, any transaction that hits those accounts in the future will automatically sync into Uncat right away. And we can choose how far back we want to sync. Uncat goes back for a full quarter, 3 months by default, but you can go back further to do like a cleanup for a new client. And then there's some advanced fields here like sync all transactions missing a class or missing an attachment, right? So it gives you a lot of flexibility to pull in all the information that you want into Uncat. And then at that point, you can set your notification settings. This is how often your client will be notified. And we recommend a weekly cadence. Sometimes firms are used to doing this on a monthly basis. They'll send a spreadsheet monthly, but then inevitably you'll have a client come back and say, I can't really remember what I did a month ago. That was 6 trips ago. I can't remember what that transaction was for. So a weekly cadence is really good best practice. So you can get good quality information back from a client. Our experience also, because we've gotten a lot of great feedback from clients, has indicated that the client appreciates the faster turnaround. So it's like, oh, wow, you're really into my books all the time. You're really watching how things are going and keeping track of my business for me. So instead of this monthly kind of closing, it's almost like a weekly process, and they know that you're really following their transactions closely. This is the dashboard. Uncat's very customizable on a client basis. So the default is you want to gather a description and optionally a receipt for each transaction, and then you can take it from there once the client provides that information. But if you have a client that has additional information that they can provide, maybe they're in QuickBooks with you, for example, and you want to ask them for a class, maybe you even want to ask them to categorize each transaction, you can do that here. So it gives you total control over what the client can see, what they can update, and the fields that you want to require them to update. One of the recent adds, which is very relevant to receipts and scanning of receipts, is that there's this new drop-down menu here where you can type in an amount, a threshold amount of money over which you have to require receipt. So many firms will be like, look, if it's under a certain amount, it's almost like a type of quote unquote petty cash type transaction. Like we don't need a lot of documentation. But when you're talking about a transaction above $100 or $500 or $1,000, depending on the industry, you may want to require a receipt for compliance purposes. So that's a neat new feature we added this week, actually. And then coming down, you can invite as many client users as you want. Some companies obviously are a founder or maybe a couple co-founders or partners in the company. Others may have dozens of users spread out across the country, each of which has their own credit card. They're doing their own spending. And so you can even assign users to only see uncategorized transactions that originated on a payment method that they control. That way, they're not getting bogged down with somebody else's transactions. They're only really responsible for answering for the transactions that they've charged on their card, for example. You can also assign specific uncategorized accounts. Like if I was a client user, you could say, I want to assign the Ask Brandon account to Brandon so that he can answer those types of questions. So that's on the setting side. And then when you go in the dashboard for that same client, you can see here are the transactions. We highlight the ones the clients have responded to. For any of these, it's really easy to upload an attachment, typically a receipt, if the client has one or if you have one. And it's also really easy to send those in by email, like we showcased with ScanSnap, or by text message. So if we go to this receipts tab, this is a place where you can gather receipts for any transaction in QuickBooks, regardless of whether it's uncategorized or not. The client can come in here, and obviously we showed the example of it coming in through the ScanSnap scanner. The other methods are that you can drag and drop them here. So if they're already digitized, you can just drag them from your computer into the drop zone. This is the dedicated email address that Scott plugged into the scanner. / you can also email into this from Gmail or Outlook or whatever email client you use. And then a slick feature that we're really excited to launch when we first pushed this big receipts module out was the ability to text in receipts. So rather than having a separate app that your clients need to download and maintain and update, everyone knows how to text message. So if they're taking a photo of a gas pump because they're out on a sales call, I used to do that all the time when I was out on sales calls, because inevitably they don't print receipts. So I'd have to take a picture of it. And then what do I do with that picture? Here you can just text it into Uncat. and we'll extract the right information, right? It was, this was the place that it happened, and it was this amount of money, and we can match it to the correct credit card transactions flowed into QuickBooks from the bank feed. So it makes for a really nice round trip process. The other tab that I'll mention briefly, because you can see it on your screen, this request tab is a place where you can ask clients miscellaneous questions, right? Do you have a W-9 for this vendor? Can you send me the bank statement for last month because it didn't sync into QuickBooks? When's the next board meeting so we can have the reporting packet complete by then? So questions that are not necessarily related to a particular receipt or to a particular uncategorized transaction, you can ask the client here, and you can make those requests recurring. So if you're always asking the client every month for a certain piece of documentation, you can have it recur so that when they come into their Uncat dashboard, they'll see it and they can respond very quickly. So really at this point, yeah, Uncat is very much bread and butter, uncategorized transactions, also requests for documentation, and then certainly receipts. And that's a big part of the app now, because being able to quickly identify matches for receipts ends up saving a tremendous amount of time. So it's a very similar use case to getting information from a client about uncategorized transactions. You can save about as much time not having to manually deal with receipts, because a pretty typical workflow in the past was client might send you an email with 25, 50 receipts on it, and then it's over to you to figure it out. And that takes a lot of time. So having it automate that work for you has been a big time saver for our customers. So I'll leave it at that. Obviously, we're at the top of the half an hour. Let me jump back in to the Zoom window. If there are any questions at all for Scott or for me about Uncat, about ScanSnap, definitely drop them in, and happy to answer those now. Yeah, see if there are any in the chat. I don't see any yet. I'll give it a minute. If there aren't any, hopefully that means that Scott and I have done a good job preempting the questions and showing you some value from our respective products. But if you do have any and you want to follow up with either of us, we'll be sending out this recording. We'll also send out the slide deck so that you have it for reference. If you want to share it with colleagues, please feel free. This is my email address in case you think of a question right after the call ends and you want to shoot me a quick note. It's just Brandon@uncat.com. Scott, if you want to type your email in there too, you're welcome to. Feel free to reach out to us or our respective teams, and we'll get you answers back.
Easy to remember. And Brandon, it really is an easy platform. And as you mentioned, you can have individual settings for each client, because all, clients are different. So you can really tailor those settings.
Yeah.